I love how you said that you learn more from your losses than your wins. You're always going to learn more from your losses. And if you're willing to put yourself out there, I mean, I'm going to be real with you, man. I've lost it all twice, but I've made it back so much more, so much faster, right? I mean, I've gone from a 5, 6 figure net worth to an 8 figure net worth, right? So, I mean, but to get to that 8 figure net worth, I had to be willing to lose it all. And I've done it. And to be honest with you, when you lose it all, it's the end of the world. Yeah. You just regroup, but you have the knowledge now to go back out there, and you do it so much faster. You do it so much more efficient, and now you don't have those pitfalls.
On today's episode of High Value Discussions, we have a distinguished entrepreneur who's accomplished to span widely in the world of real estate investing. His journey is one uncommon pursuit towards excellence. But that is not only for his real estate portfolio, it's also within himself and those he guides and mentors. My guest has not only built an impressive career in real estate, but he also has dedicated a significant part of his life to empower others to live a more rich and free life. His investing approach and personal development is rooted in practical wisdom, strategic foresight, and a profound understanding of human potential. In this episode, we will learn his philosophies that guide his entrepreneurial ventures. He'll share pivotal moments from his real estate undertakings and reveal his techniques for building resilience and leadership in both life and business. Whether you're an established business leader or an emerging real estate investor, there is much to gain from the experience and insights of such a seasoned professional. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you David Valley.
But I think that, through telling your story and telling other people's story, people can resonate with you. And not only resonate with you, man, they start to really understand the things, the trials, the tribulations, the victories, and everything that really makes you who you are. Yeah. Right? So for me, kind of just, I'll give you a brief update of kind of like my story, and then we'll kind of can get into some of those backgrounds, right? But I believe in interesting story, right? Like I do come from a lineage of killers, drug dealers, drug addicts, people who have been in and out of prison. I'm the first one in my family to graduate high school, let alone college, and having that, kind of like chip on my shoulder driving me. I always felt kind of different when I was young. Right? Like I've got this whole mantra that ended up becoming a nickname of mine called the Vanilla Gorilla, right? Which is interesting. And we can get into that as well. Right. But like the black sheep of the family, like I was always different, and I knew that I was going to be something different. Had no idea what that meant when I was younger, but there was some sort of fuel that just like fueled the fire. Right. And I mean, that drove me all the way through to, like I said, is go to high school, graduate high school, go to college, graduate college. I bought, sold, and built, probably 10 companies in my 20s. And I had 3 exits on my resume by the time I was 26 years old. Yeah. Mostly all in like the health and fitness and wellness space. Which also drove me to, get a corporate job from my degree. Yeah. Became one of the youngest business development officers for a Fortune 500 company. Ended up, quitting the corporate world, building my own real estate portfolio with over $100 million of assets under management by the time I was 40 years old. Yeah. So, and all of this stems from little David. I like to talk about little David, right? So just being young and coming from a background of, not having, right, and wanting all of the things kind of made me kind of into an entrepreneur, I guess you could say. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs have similar backgrounds or similar things that have drove them to want to, pursue a level of excellence or pursue a different life, or to have what they didn't have when they were growing up.
Yeah. So during that development phase, like, did you have a certain hit when you were at a certain age where you're like, you know what, I think I am different? Because it takes time to be able to see that in yourself. I wasn't very confident when I was young, but it took time. Like I would say when I was like a young adult where I started like, I think I'm doing things a little differently. I think I'm walking a little bit differently. I think I'm talking a little bit differently. At what specifically for you, what age did you notice that you were different?
Yeah, a great question. I think when I was younger, I always felt out of place, right? So, growing up as an overweight kid, being fed all of the plastics and all of the fast foods and all of the, I mean, when we went to McDonald's, we're like, yeah, we get to
Oh,
go
that
to
was the best.
McDonald's, right? We get to go
McGriddles.
play and yeah, everything, right? So, but I always felt like I was again being made fun of for being different, all of the things. So it was negative when I was growing up. So I really felt out of place until I got a little bit older. And I guess I've never really thought about it. Great. Such a great question. It wasn't until I found self-development that I was like, okay, I am different. And this is actually a good thing. I didn't find self-development until my 30s, which actually like self-development, like reading and doing all of the things.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I always trying to fit in, trying to fit in, trying to fit in. And then when I got a little bit older, I was like, I don't fit in, but this is a good thing, right? The first 20 years, it was like, oh, I'm out of place. The second 20 years is like, okay, let's run with this and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I would say after college, working, doing all of the things when I was like, okay, as I started to make money, I was like, okay, I'm going to continue to make more money. This is what's going to quote unquote make me happy.
Yeah.
I never got happy from the money, so I had to figure something else out. It's when I started to do more of like self-actualization that I was like, okay, there's something to the self-development. There's something to all of this. And wow, I am an outsider, but in a really great way.
Do you ever notice that too? Like where you may be meeting these entrepreneurs and business owners, so on and so forth, and they focus so much on their business when it comes to like say accumulation of wealth,
Yeah.
but they don't prioritize the self-development side, and then things start to crumble physically, mentally on their end because they focus on the growth of their money and their business, but they forget the growth of them personally.
Oh, 100%.
Do you see that a
Oh,
lot?
100%. Pretty much in every entrepreneur, right? And every person that's out there like chasing freedom, financial freedom, because they think that if they just focus all of their energy in building wealth, that they're going to accumulate the money and then everything is just going to fall into place. But what they don't understand is that you have to put equal attention, if not more attention, to the other areas of your life while you're creating wealth and while you're building your financial freedom, right? And for me, coming from a background of being overweight, coming from always having to like watch my diet and everything, even being in fitness and nutrition companies in my 20s, when I hit my 30s, probably 30 to 35, when I was chasing the wealth, I let myself go. Right? Like I was drinking too much. I was working, 12, 15 hours a day, going to networking events. I did build a little wealth for myself, but then I started looking at, okay, well, my relationship with my family sucks, right? My relationship with myself sucks. Like I'm overweight. I don't feel good. I'm not working out as much as I used to, right? All of the different areas of my life was suffering.
Yeah.
And then I was like, man, like, okay, well, look at my bank account. It's got zeros in it. Cool. But the rest of my life is shit. So that's when it like clicked. And that was an interesting point in my life too, is I didn't have an understanding of what spirituality meant. Right. So to me, growing up, coming from Texas, so going back to little David, cutting back to him because we're going to cut back and forth. But like little David was raised in Texas, right? Born on a naval base in San Diego. Father was a naval brat, right? So my mom left him when he was super young. So I really didn't grow up with a father. I grew up in Texas. My grandparents helped raise me. Ended up going from Texas to like California to Michigan. So I've lived all over the place, right? And to kind of like tie it all in, it was that it wasn't until I started to understand that the past of myself made me who I am,
Yeah.
right? And that I embraced it, that I started to say, okay, well, tying it all back into kind of like spirituality, being in Texas, Bible Belt, we had to be quote unquote spiritual. That was you went, you were Baptist, you had to go to church. If you didn't go to church, you were like shunned and all of the stuff. So only thing I knew about spirituality was, okay, I have to believe in God because of the Bible and because of being from Texas. But I got to a point in my life, I was like, I don't know what spirituality is.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to look at my life and I was like, dude, my life is not good across the board.
Yeah.
So how do I do some introspection and kind of like find who I am?
Yes.
And then I got introduced to my my spiritual coach. I always put spiritual in quotations because air quotes, because people are like, what is that? So, but that's when I found kind of like plant medicine, and we can go down a whole rabbit hole of that, man. But like, so I'm one of those entrepreneurs that just jumps into things, right? So I called one of my buddies that was in a networking group, and I go, hey man, like my wealth and career, killing it. I need to work on my family. I need to work on myself. I know how to work on myself as far as physically, right? But like, I really want to fill this spirituality bucket, right? Like, what is it? And he was just going through some things, and I saw a huge change in him. And I go, what did you do to make you so like spiritual, like to really understand yourself more? And he's like, well, I got to introduce you to this lady, and they do ayahuasca retreats. And I was like, ayahuasca, okay, I have no idea what that is, but I'm cool. Like, let's set up a meeting with her. Give me a phone call. So that day, I jump on the phone with her. Because again, like gasoline on fire, that's what we do as entrepreneurs, right? So I'm on the phone with her, and she goes, yeah, you could really benefit from some ayahuasca. I'm like, cool, sign me up. I have no idea what it is, right? She's like, okay, well, what experience do you have with psychedelics? I'm like, absolutely none. They scare the shit out of me. So growing up, I mean, I tried everything growing up except for psychedelics, because I was always scared that I was just going to go on a bad trip and like never come back, right? Going off into the unknown. So it's like all the other drugs, whatever, I'll try them. It doesn't, I don't care. So she's like, yeah, it's a heavy psychedelic. You do you want to try it? I'm like, sure, let's do it. She's like, all right, I'm gonna send you a book to read. I'm like, okay, great. So I get off the phone, and she sends me the book, and I read this book about ayahuasca, and I'm like, holy crap, what did I get myself into? Like, this is one of the most heaviest psychedelics that you can go through.
Yeah.
Right. So going down the rabbit hole of plant medicine, I mean, I've done plant medicine probably now 10 times. Ayahuasca. I still microdose psilocybin weekly. It's helped so much. But the plant medicine really helped me understand now the second level of my self-development, the shadow work, the introspective, it taught me how to love myself. It gave me faith in a higher power. It taught me about energetics and energy and all of these things to some people that are taboo or woo-woo, right? Like, and it was to me too before I got into it. And I was just like, wow, like this makes sense. All of this makes sense.
Yeah.
And then that really helped me shift myself to really understand what life's supposed to be, right? So when someone asks you, they say, hey, what does success mean to you? Right? And I think that changes, right, as we continue to expand or evolve as humans.
Yeah.
And success to me was money, right? Until I got money. And then the rest of my life was just not successful. So, and I'm always going to come back to it. It's like my truth today, right? Because we learn every day. My truth right now may be different than my truth tomorrow, because I may come on some more information that will change my mind. So that's why I say my truth as of today, success to me is freedom, right? Physically, emotionally, financially, geographically, spiritually. I guess all of it encompasses spiritual, but you want to be free. Can you free? So financially, to me, financially is the easiest part of it, right? Because all you got to do is do the things, right? If you want to be in real estate, go get a real estate coach, go onto YouTube, listen to Bigger Pockets, start down that rabbit hole, do the things, you'll become financially free, right? Same thing pretty much with like you're a trader, right? You trade. So it's like, do the things, you'll make the money. That's the easy success. So you want to talk about like emotional freedom, mental freedom, right? Like that's where we are imprisoned, like in ourselves. And until you understand that, and then a lot of people physically free, right? I mean, for guys like you and I, right? Like it's kind of ingrained in us. You know, we do martial arts, we work out every day. Like we need that. But people don't understand we don't need that just for a vanity sake of like, oh, I want to take my shirt off and look good naked. Everybody does. Don't get me wrong. Yes. If somebody tells you like, no, I'm cool, I don't care about looking good naked, they're lying. 100%. 100%. They're like, I'm okay with my dad body. No, you're not. Don't lie to me, dude. Like we're not here to lie to each other, you know? But that's a byproduct of the hard work and the discipline.
Yes.
But we need it for our mental freedom. Like if on rest days, I struggle with rest days, man. I have to go to the sauna. I've got to do the cold plunge. I got to do all the things to make me feel like just that feeling that I get from working out.
Yep.
Right. So again, if people can understand freedom, success equals freedom. So if you can understand how to be free in all areas of your life, that's where I have found a sliver of happiness. Yeah. What happiness means.
And you have to go through challenge to be able to face that freedom, you know?
Yeah.
And it takes a lot, man. Like I, just like you, when I do miss a workout, I have to have some sort of challenge. So usually I like to work out straight in the mornings. I was getting prepped up for this podcast in the morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
After I plan to kill myself in that gym, you know? But either way, if I didn't work out today, I'm still sitting beside somebody who is 10x better than me, and that creates challenge. But I think that's what people neglect is the challenging aspect. Like you have to go through it every single day. And that's what I do, man. It's like I found this like love for discomfort where it's like I need it all the time,
Chaos.
right?
Yep.
If there's no chaos, it's like I'm not smiling.
Complacency, right? I think people need to understand that we are put here on this earth to grow, to expand, to evolve, to learn, right? And they say if you're not learning, you're dying. Well, it's true. So when you start to understand that and you put yourself in places like of chaos or discomfort, that's where the growth happens. That's where the tremendous amounts of growth happens. Being uncomfortable. People don't like to be uncomfortable. That's why when I look at somebody, like say somebody that's overweight, I look at them and I see a couple different things. Like the first thing I see is like, okay, well, there is some trauma that you need to understand about yourself that you need to overcome, right? Because you are overweight, right? And the second thing is you need to get uncomfortable, right? So if we give you the confidence that you can do this, like, are you willing to change? You know?
Mhm.
And what do they say? They say that the level of discomfort has to be more now than the level of discomfort of change for you to change.
And people don't like to change though. People
Mm-mm.
are scared of the change. And don't get me wrong, it is very intimidating sometimes. Like learning a new skill can be very intimidating. And it's like, okay, I accumulated so many years of learning this new skill. Now change has to come in order for me to innovate. Well, you got to dive into that too. And isn't it intimidating? Is it uncomfortable sometimes? Yes, but man, jumping towards that is the best thing to do. And it's unfortunate that people just kind of go this way,
Mm-hmm.
the other side, and they wonder why things aren't going their way when it's really the answer is just jumping forward. And those who don't execute, it's almost like that question to yourself, do you want to be great or do you not?
They're probably scared how great they can become. I mean, there's another quote that's out there, and I'm not going to butcher it right now, but it's like you're scared of how great you can actually become, right? And a lot of people just don't have the confidence to think that they're like worth it, like the self love, to even think that they could even accomplish something like that.
Yeah. And I like, brother, how you said you prioritize your business and so on and so forth, and you were able to create this capital for yourself. And I feel like I've noticed, I've read so many stories, I've read so many interviews, looked at so many interviews on how people prioritize the finances and their profits. And then they get reckless with their finances.
Mm-hmm.
They spend crazy and they
Yep.
go do this, they go do that. And that's where the personal development is ignored. Have you felt yourself when you saw those zeros kind of capitalized? Did you ever get that feeling where like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this? And have you ever made those like say mistakes where you're like, oh, I am never gonna go on towards that route again?
Yeah, I mean, there's actually some great questions and a lot to unpack there. I think the first thing I want to talk about is how, money is energy, it's currency, it flows. You have to have your house in order, right? You have to understand where your money is going. Do you have any leaks? Like, I do spend every once a month looking over my finances, especially like what's the money coming in? What's the money going out? Is there anything that we're paying for that we don't use anymore? Right? Even though I have enough money to like pay all of it and not even care about it, there you still have to have your house in order. And if you don't have your house in order, you don't have a financial hygiene to it, you're not going to attract the money that you want. So you've got to clean your house first, and then you will start to attract the money, right? Because again, it all comes back to energy. And then going back to building wealth, I'll bring everything always back to daily habits, right? Anything that you want, whether it be finances, whether it be physical, whether it be anything, you have to start, right? You have to form your daily habits that's going to get you to where you want to go. Set some really audacious, awesome goals. Do it because you can achieve anything you want to, but you have to set a plan in place to get there, right? So, again, it comes back to growth as well.
Yeah.
So, also, I did read another quote. I forgot exactly who it was from, but it was like, you got to lose $100 to get to 1,000, right? You got to lose 1,000 to get to, and it's true. You got to lose 1 million to get to 100 million, right? Like I've written a check for $350,000 to a business investment that didn't end up working out, right? I've also made a lot of money besides that, but I mean that's the biggest check that I've ever written,
Yeah.
and that's a lot of money to me, right? But I remember a time when I wrote a check for like $1,500. That was a lot of money to me then. So you do have to spend money to make money. That is 100% true.
Yes. How does somebody accumulate that financial stability to be financially disciplined for their business and their business ventures?
It's a muscle like anything else, right? Like you got to go to the gym, you got to have a plan, you got to work out the muscles, right? Like so you have to have a business plan, and you have to set your so I'm going to bring it to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you're familiar with Maslow's. I love Maslow's. It's 100%, right? So the bottom part of the pyramid is your basic human needs, right? You need a roof over your head, you need water, you need food, you got to take care of your family. So if you're not making enough money to at least cover your basic human needs, you're never even going to get into the self-development phase, right? Like for people that are working and that are just working regular 9 to 5 jobs and they're barely hitting that number, they can't really pull back on their expenses because they're just spending money on their basic human needs. I'm not talking about the people that are going out on the weekends and going and getting drunk and doing all of the debauchery stuff. I'm just talking about people that are trying to take care of their family. So at that point, you have no other option than to make more money. Find a way to make more money. And for the people that look at me and are like, well, I can't make more money, I work and all of that, I'm going to call bullshit. In today's day and age, all of the information to make as much money as you want is on the internet. Go to YouTube. People put out all the content, everything for free. Yeah. You can just go dance on TikTok and make money, dude. Like you can make money, right? I'm telling you, it's not
crazy.
You can do anything to make money. So you're just, again, that's why I call it BS. But when you're starting to make a little bit more money, that's when you have to really put financial hygiene in place, because you need to live below your means, right? I've lived in my parents' basement before. I've been on my parents' couches. Like I have sacrificed, and getting back to sacrifice, but sacrificed so much because I knew that I wanted to progress faster, right? So if you can understand your financial hygiene, live below your means, get out of that first level of just basic human needs, that's where you start.
Yeah.
And then they talk about investing, right? So now you've got a little bit of cash set aside to invest. That's where I think a lot of other people get stuck because they don't know what to invest in. I mean, you can invest in the stock market. You can start putting your money into the stock market, the S&P 500 and stuff, and get a small return. But I'm going to urge people, until you have, I think it was at least $50,000. Unless you have $50,000 cash, you really shouldn't even think about investing in anything except in yourself. Self-development. Yeah. Books, courses, whatever you can do. Continue to, I think I spent around 50 grand my first year of self-development. It was the best $50,000 I've ever spent. Right? And until you get to that point to where you have your house in order, some people call them gardens or pillars, all of the different parts of your life, you're building a foundation. That's how you create wealth. Right? There's a difference between being financially free and being wealthy.
When you say sitting with somebody who's like, say, rich and who says they're rich, they're very flashy. They're very this, they're very that. They like to say like, oh man, look what I am. Like, look how much I'm worth. Check this number out.
Watch what happens when we're in a room and I hear somebody talking about how much wealth they have and all of their stuff. I'm not in that room anymore.
No.
It's like the opposite end of two magnets.
Yeah.
And I can say that because I was that guy one time. I'm not going to say that I wasn't, right? Because they do say fake it until you make it, and you're trying to come up, and I understand all of that. Yeah. And being in that room is a room I think everybody needs to go through, right? So I'm not like talking trash about it, but like you said, as you're starting to build wealth, you're in a whole different mental mindset. You're in a whole different thing, and you start to gravitate towards the opposite direction.
And I feel like even though those network events or so on and so forth, where you're in a room that is crowded full of people who have like done some great things, and some people who say they've done great things, but really they're just kind of fake it till they make it kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I remember we were talking about all that over the phone too, how to be able to put yourself in those rooms, even if say these people are sketchy, even if say these people are scammers, or say these people are they're a great success story. But no matter what, I feel like you should still put yourself in that room and to see and to have that experience, because you need to go to the ups and downs
Yeah.
of shaking the hands of people, whether it's going to be a good deal, whether it's going to be a bad deal. Regardless, it gives you a lesson. When people invite me to these places, I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, let's do it this time. Let's do it this day. And just to kind of see.
Yeah.
Because I want to see if this person's about it or not. And if they're not, I am very turned off and I go the opposite direction. Kind of like what you said when somebody's comparing wealth or asking that question. It's like, let's compare numbers. You're there, but after that, you're like, oh, you're never going to see me again.
You have to build your discernment muscle, using a level of discernment, right? And the thing about those rooms and those people, you'll still get knowledge from them. In my career of, becoming an entrepreneur in business and real estate, I have had business partners that, looking back on it, would I partner with them again? No. But did I learn a lot of lessons partnering with them? Yes. Did we make money? Yes. Was there some mental and emotional sacrifice on my part to gain that knowledge? Yes. But I would do it all over. Younger David, I would do it all over again.
Yeah.
100%.
When we were talking about investing in our skills before, we're saying jumping into these ventures, whether it's the stock market, whether it's real estate or a specific business. Man, before, because I was a professional athlete coming up and I had no inclination of what business was. I mean, to this day, I'm still kind of a student. I feel still like a white belt with it. You know what I mean? Honestly. But I spent thousands of dollars just to be able to accumulate this information, but it's also putting it to work, man. Every book that I read, every conversation that I have, I always take these little nuggets and I'm like, I got to put it to place somehow. And if I don't, I'm kind of wasting my time. I'm wasting people's time. I'm wasting the money side where it's like, why did I buy this book if I'm not incorporating it, what it gave me? Investing in yourself, man, is the biggest ROI before you come into these ventures. I completely agree with that with you.
Yeah, there's so many nuggets you just said right there too. I try. So when you talk, there's so many cool things that you're talking about in my mind.
I should just shut up.
No. You should keep it going, because in my mind, I'm like, okay, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. The one thing you said is bringing it to like martial arts, like belts, right? Like, I do jujitsu. Is like like there's so much out there. Like, even like getting to a 8-figure net worth is like becoming just a blue belt. So there's like, you think that like, okay, I'm going to learn so much and I'm just going to progress so fast. And you do, but it opens up doors to other rooms when you're like, oh my God, there's just so much more. It's daunting sometimes, but you just got to continue to show up. You got to put the reps in. You got to put the time in. And the other thing you were talking about that I was really leaning towards was, if people that are listening to this want to be financially free, they want to build wealth, don't just start there. You have to bring it all the way back again to building a house on a foundation. If you're not physically free, that's where everybody needs to start at the physical part. Everybody can watch what they put in their body as far as food, and then they can work out, right? Once you become physically free, it's going to open up the confidence to do whatever it is that you want to do, right? So once you hit that physical freedom, then you move on to like mental and emotional freedom, right? So you meditate, you get your mind right, you understand that this is going to take time. That's going to unlock, and then emotionally understanding, not breaking character, understanding who you are, understanding why you want to do all of this. If you understand those, then you can say, okay, well, what is my vehicle for financial freedom, right? So you got to have the vehicle, right? But then now what your vehicle is, you could do the stock market, you could do trading, you could do real estate, you could build your own business, you could build your business online. That's just going to be the blueprint of financial freedom. So you got the roadmap, kind of like what I got to do, and then you got the blueprint.
I've heard this thing, brother, where my mentor always said, man, do what you love and then the money comes. But there's this other person, I think Oprah Winfrey actually said this. Everything that I did, I actually hated. Where she was like saying, I'm such an introvert, where it's so difficult to be able to speak to somebody who is very, very successful. So she was very uncomfortable. She hated it nearly, but she became very successful from it. So there's these two little things where do what you love, you'll be compensated properly. Do what you hate, you'll be compensated properly. It's weird, right?
Man, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be really fun because I've heard the same things, right? And I would love to sit here and say, yes, go do what you love, and you are going to make all of the money in the world, and everything's gonna fall into place. Reality is no, it's not. It may, don't get me wrong. Like you
Yeah,
may
yeah.
be like, hey, I love underwater basket weaving, and you start doing that, and next thing you know, you're blowing up on social media, and everybody wants an underwater basket that's been woven. I probably not. So, I mean, I can only speak from my own experience is that like my vehicle to financial freedom is real estate. And do I love real estate? I like real estate. I wouldn't say that I wake up every morning so passionate about real estate that I can't wait to do something in real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm passionate about it because I understand how it can take someone like myself who comes from no money in my background and actually build some serious wealth,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I get excited about is the opportunity through that. Um, One thing I do want to talk about that is resonating with me as we talk about this is that I think everybody is put on this earth to do something super special and to do something that they love, right? Passion and purpose, right? A lot of people seek. So once you hit past the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Now you have all your human basic needs met. You start to go, okay, well, why the hell am I here? Right? And people search for their purpose in life, right? And they also search for their passion. And it wasn't until, I mean, myself that I became financially free that I even really started to understand what my purpose was and my passion, right? Like my passion is building the person, like becoming like we call it the expanded human. I'm trying to become the highest and best level of myself in every area of my life, right? That is my passion. I wake up excited every day to do my morning rituals. I wake up excited every day to attack everything that I'm going to do because I'm going to make myself the best version of me. Very passionate about that. But my purpose I have found now is I want to help others find their purpose and passion, right? So I think everybody needs to work the steps to become free, to be successful, become financially free with whatever vehicle that they want to choose, then be like, what do I love? Because when you're making decisions from an abundance mindset, not a scarcity mindset when it comes to money, you're in a whole different level.
I like what you said, man. You put yourself at a certain spot where you are able to just feed and give value to other people. Cause man, that is the game plan. Like set yourself free, but show everybody else how to set them free too, right?
Yeah.
That's where the extra value comes in. And that gives you way more fulfillment because you already feel good in every aspect of your life. But being able to pass that on to somebody else, that gives you more of a stock raise.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, so talk about that, man. I know you're helping a lot of these people and passing out value, but what's that feeling like of passing down that knowledge and then seeing them execute?
Oh, it's crack. It's straight up crack, man. It's the drug of choice. I've given up all of the other vices, right? I don't drink anymore. I don't watch porn. I don't chase women. I don't do all of the things, right? My new vice, and the vice is a bad thing, but my new thing is like helping people. You get such a high from it. Like I get energized. Like when I get off a call, like, so for me, I was like, okay, I want to help people, but how do I do it? Well, today's day and age through creating content and through all of these things is you can help people by just the internet, right? So I just started being like, okay, well, let's go down this rabbit hole. And I just started, I mean, it's probably just 6 months ago, really starting to put out content, grow my social media following.
It's really great. Every time you post something, I'm like, I'm watching.
Oh,
I'm
I
literally
appreciate
genuinely
that.
watching, brother.
It's hard. It's hard. It's not easy. I'm not gonna like these people that you see out there, these content creators, the good ones and stuff. It takes time. It's repetitions. It's practice. But like, I was like, okay, well, what do I know, right? Well, I've got my 20s and 30s. Like, I know fitness. I know nutrition. I can help people become physically free, right? Okay, cool. Well, I know real estate. So I have people that I mentor in real estate. I'm like, okay, I can take you. I've been at 0 units. I've been over 1,000 in 5 different states. Like I know real estate. I can help people there too. And then also I help people like with like mindset and like really understanding that the mental and emotional freedom. So it's like I coach people on how to become free. So the roadmap's the same for everybody. Everybody needs to follow the same roadmap. It's your own blueprint that's different. So you can pick your vehicle. How do I become physically free, right? Okay, well, you can set up a certain way that you eat for yourself. You can set up I go for walks every day. Everybody can go for a walk. It's very, you can walk. Same thing with the other things is, how do you want to become financially free? Well, there are different ways, right? You could become a trader. You could create your own content and be, you could do podcasts. You can do real estate. There's tons of different ways you can do that. But being able to give freedom to other people. And it's an interesting thing that I do get this question a lot, and I didn't know how to almost combat it or how to talk about it until here recently. Was that they're like, okay, well, not everybody can be financially free, right? You need the garbage man. And I was like, well, shit, somebody does need to, I don't want to pick up the garbage. You know what I mean? Like, I've worked way too hard. I mean, I worked at McDonald's, man. I'm not going to say I'm scared of hard work, but like, I don't want to go back and pick up the garbage. But then I started to think about it is like, yes, you're always going to have the garbage man, because the garbage man is going to be on his own journey to financial freedom. So as people continue to come up, we can make everybody free, but everybody's going to come up in their own different path. So there's always going to be the need for the garbage man. And then unless we get into AI, but that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, we can help everybody become financially free. When they become financially free, then they can understand what their passion and purpose is, and then they can go give whatever that is to the world. I mean, come on, at the end of the day, aren't we just trying to make the world a better place?
And we want our circle to be great, man. Like, you put yourself in a position where it's like, man, I don't want to go backwards. I only want to do this. I only want to elevate. I only want to grow spiritually, physically, mentally. And you want the people around you to do the same, man, because you want to have those conversations where you're sitting at a bonfire and you guys are having challenging conversations. You guys are growing mentally by the words that are coming out of your guys' mouth. It's the best. But sometimes being that outlier, you do get looked at differently, whether it's good or bad. But in my experience, it's been mostly negative. Why do you think that is?
You're going to go through that stage of growth. Everybody does. So as you're coming up, people aren't going to understand you. And while you're also coming up, it's going to make people take a hard look in the mirror at themselves, and they don't want to see their negative parts of themselves. So I can tell you through all of the stages, like, I had friends that were close to me, and, we were drinking buddies and we did all of the fun stuff. But as I started to work on self-development, they fell off one by one. And you're on this journey, we can call it the hero's journey, but you're on this journey of this self-development. You're going to shed the old you and the old people that you used to hang out with. And they're going to look at you like you're crazy, because again, you're making them look in the mirror at themselves. But the beautiful thing is now you're getting into different rooms, different circles with more like-minded people, and you're finding your place at those tables. And I mean, I could tell you, I have probably like 3 or 4 really best friends, and they live all over the country. I mean, all over the world, really. I do have some close acquaintances where I live at some of the places that I live, but, I find them through jiu-jitsu or through the gym and stuff like that. And they're cool people, but they're not like my best friends. Like, I wouldn't call them when I needed them to grab a shovel and the car keys for us to go bury the bodies. Yes. You know what I mean? That's your boy, right? It's like, all right, I'm on a plane. I'll be there in like, I can get there probably in 8 hours, right? So you're going to get a lot of that, but that means that you're on the right path. And there's all these awesome sayings out there, because there is a lot of truth to them, but you are the average of the 5 people that you hold around you. It used to just be you are the 5 people that you physically had around you, because we didn't really have the internet and we really didn't have those things. I'm going to date myself right now. I remember when the internet was a dial-up and you could actually physically hear the internet dial-up. Craziest thing. I was talking with my buddy about it. I was like, the internet makes a sound. You know that, right? I've heard dial-up when I was growing up.
When I was first born.
Yeah, you're just being born. But now the beautiful thing is that you can level yourself up just by having influencers. I like to call them expanders from like the internet. Like we were talking about like Alec Hermosi and like Dan Martell and some of those. Well, to me, those are people that are in my circle because I follow their content and they're expanding me. So you don't have to just get around physically the people that you want to help you take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Right. But you're going to get to tie it all in, man. You're going to go through this level of growth where people are going to throw hate on you.
Yeah.
Then you're going to break through that. Then you're going to know who you surround yourself with, because time is the most precious commodity that we have.
And I have always been so fascinated with people who are such high level frequencies than me. Like that's one of the biggest reasons why I started this show, man. Is like I love sitting next to people who are just better than me, 10x better than me, you know? And I love to learn from them. I love to dissect of like the ups, the downs, the sacrifices, the its and ups. But it's weird when people get so intimidated or say pissed or angry at somebody else's success rather than just learning from it. Like I want to learn from you rather than being, okay, David, sure.
It's a couple things there. So the immediate thing is I just pieced him out real fast. I didn't even care. I was like, I'm on this, I'm blazing this trail. You're either coming with me or you're not. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, there was, you know, a little bit of heartache when you lost somebody that you thought was like super close to you, but it was part of the growth. Right. So I was just like, peace, like you're coming or you're not. Like I was just blinders on, straightforward, just go with it. Right. But then you were talking about frequency, right? There is people that are in a low frequency state, right? Because again, everything is energy, man. I'm always going to bring it back to that too, is people that are in a scarcity mindset, victim mindset, low energy frequencies, they will never hear you. They will never understand you. They will never come out of that. When you start to get into a higher frequency state, right? When you're coming from a frequency of love and abundance and all of that, you're vibing on a whole different level. Like our cells vibrate at these states. And it's not like the people that are in high frequency states are just always up there, right? Like I go from low frequency to high frequency daily. That's why I need all of these daily rituals. I need all of these things that I do because I'm trying to stay kind of in that high frequency state. And what's interesting is that when you live in that abundance area, you don't even start to see the low frequency anymore. You know, like I don't watch the news. Anything that's low frequency to me, I don't even mess with it. And, you know, your perception is your reality. So it doesn't even really exist in my world.
When it comes to these routines, brother, they matter, especially the beginning of your day, the middle of your day, the end of your day. That all accumulates to a better tomorrow. You know, so I always say that if I'm disciplined today, I'm going to have a good day tomorrow. If I'm disciplined tomorrow, I'm going to have a good day the next day. So that whole magic pill for me, man, is just being disciplined. And it's paid me dividends, but there are distractions that come along the way. Do you still or now you've kind of built yourself to be able to like avoid these distractions, but do they come your way sometimes?
Well, they're always there. They're always there. So some of the stuff that you said, like 1% better every day. That is the goal. We want to become 1% better, like every day, right? And then for me, you know, you cut out as many distractions as you can, but they're still there. And I do want to talk about routines, right? Because I think out in the internet land right now, there is a controversy going on. And I don't know if they're saying it because they want more views or stuff like that, but people are like, yes, let's do morning routines. And some people are like, I don't need morning routines. I just wake up and just crush, right? So to everybody is like, you know, don't listen to other people. Again, level of discernment. And I don't even like to call it a routine because a lot of people will put like a negative connotation to the word routine, like it's hard. That's why I say ritual, right? Like I like rituals, right? Ritual sounds like sexy. Routine sounds like, you know, like, oh, I don't gotta go do
like
this
a drag,
routine, like a drag, right? But the morning routine and the routines that I set up in my life do set me up for success, right? And there's like some non-negotiable ones. Like when I wake up, I meditate. I meditate every day because I need to get all the noise out of my head, right? I journal every day because I take that noise and I put it down on paper. Now it's not in my head anymore, right? Then my brain is ready to read. I love to read in the morning to put some new information into my head. And then I have to do some sort of physical activity in the morning. Those 4 things, my ritual puts me into a high frequency state where I just go kill the day, right? And then like you said, is the night routine's kind of the same thing, right? But the night routine could be ritual. The night ritual is kind of the same thing, but you're winding down and maybe you're even getting ready for tomorrow, building a clear plan. So when you have everything set up with a clear plan of what you're going to do, you just start to, it's a whole different conversation, but there's conscious and subconscious mind, right? You can program your subconscious mind to autopilot to take everything over, right? People need to understand that we are 10% conscious, 90% subconscious mind, right? Our subconscious mind takes over and makes us do the things that are already habits and everything that we're doing through the day. Our conscious mind works problem solving and works on the things, and that's the stuff that kind of drains our battery. So one thing I do want to talk about, you said, is the word discipline, right? Discipline is like a muscle, and it has a shelf life. It has a battery life to it, right? When we go to bed at night and we have done all of the things and we have an amazing night's sleep and we wake up in the morning, you have a disciplined battery full, right? You're like, I don't need sugar in my coffee. I got black coffee. We're cool. I'm going to the gym. And as you go through your day, depending on if you're using more of your conscious or subconscious mind, that battery starts to drain down. And it just does for me. And so what's interesting, I heard somebody talk about it, is like there's stages of David throughout the day. Like morning David is different than night David, right? Morning David won't eat a cookie. Night David may eat cookies if they're around, right? Two totally different dudes.
I like that, yeah.
Same guy, different dudes, right? So I don't have cookies around in my house at night because I may eat them because my disciplined battery has been drained, right? And again, your battery can stay full all day long if you're doing the things and you have a plan. So I say you have a plan of action. You're doing all of your rituals. You're just going through the day and everything's happening. Your battery stays more charged. Yeah. So you can make better decisions. If you're just throwing mud at the wall or whatever, right? Just trying to figure it out, your disciplined battery, your conscious mind has to play a big part in it. You're probably going to make weaker decisions when it comes to the evening, right?
Yeah.
So you'll like this reference, right? Like if we're fighters and we're in a fight and we get punched in the face, we know we're going to get punched in the face and we're cool. We're ready for it. I'm going for a fight tomorrow. Like I'm going to go roll in jiu-jitsu. I'm probably going to get hurt. I'm probably going to get punched in the face or whatever, right? Awesome. If you're not ready to be punched in the face and you get punched in the face, it throws you off whack, right? So becoming an entrepreneur and doing all of the things, you got to know you're in a fight. Do you prepare for a fight, or do you just go in and just fight?
No, I am going through camp. So every time I was preparing for a fight, there is, like you said, rituals and routines involved, man, where it's like what I'm doing in the morning, how I'm sleeping, how I'm recovering, how I'm eating, how I'm training, what am I taking in, whether it's consuming, whether like what I'm listening to. There was strict scheduling when it comes to fight camps. And they're 12-week camps. They're 3 months, day in and day out, working 3 times a day, like for 3 months straight. And then the only time where you rest is fight week. That's the only time where you get to like recover the body, rejuvenate, get ready mentally. You know what I mean? Yeah. So everything, man, you're preparing for war nearly. It's the new age of the gladiator days. You kind of, and that's the thing too, that people don't know. You literally sign this waiver to the promotion, whatever promotion you're fighting for, that like signing your life away nearly. Like if you die, family cannot touch you, family cannot do this. It's like, that's a crazy feeling knowing, but that's what's weird about fighters. Like they could possibly die in there, but they still do it. And it's almost not even for the money, man. It's like they do it for the glory of it. That's kind of why I did it. Like I love the feeling of it, man. It's doing all that hard stuff that I didn't like doing in the past, and then embracing that suck where it's like, dude, this guy trained 3 months to kill me. As he was thinking about me as much as I was thinking about him. It's a weird feeling. And then when you're face to face finally in front of him, and then you're like doing the weigh-ins, the forehead to forehead, bro. But you need to prepare, because if you don't prepare, then you're definitely going to fail without a doubt.
Yeah, and you go in there knowing you're going to get punched in the face, right?
For sure. But you have to be prepared for that. Regardless if you prepare your best, you're still going to get hit. Those people who are kind of like, I'm good, I'm never going to be touched. Dude, you're going to get slept if you come in with that kind of mindset. Like, that's bad, man. Like, you always got to be ready. Like, no matter how, that's one thing that my mentor always passed down to me. I don't care how good you're doing. You could lose it all tomorrow. You know, like, you need to keep it at that good balance where don't get too low on the lows and don't get too high on the highs. Be right there in the middle and have it kind of in sync and be very, very well balanced. So that's why that was kind of one of the mistakes that I made in my athletic career, was I got high on the highs. And when I got too high, I got low from the low. And when that low hit me, I didn't know how to bounce back, because I didn't have that mental awareness or that environmental awareness, social awareness. I didn't have that, or even the inner, like I didn't know anything about that until I lost very, very badly, until you lose in front of all your family and friends. You lose, like say when it comes to, let's say, a business, you put so much effort, you put so much time into something, and then it goes away, it crumbles. You're like, dude, what the hell do I do now? It's the same thing within my fight career. But one of the things we were talking about being in the room, regardless if it's negative or if it's a positive, you're going to learn something from it. So, brother, I have learned so much more from my losses than I've ever had from my wins. And I actually, to this day, prefer to lose. I'd rather, like today, I'd rather take an L today, because I'm going to be better tomorrow. It is the weirdest kind of mindset to have, but I've learned how to be a better loser.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of makes me smile even more, because when bad things happen, I'm kind of almost ready for it mentally. Or
Yeah.
even when things haven't happened yet, I kind of put myself in those shoes where it's like, how are you going to react when things do go bad? Like, what are you spiritually saying to yourself? Physically, are you ready for that? Like, I always say that self too. Like, I'm not competing anymore. I'm not training for anything or a specific day or a fight.
But you are.
But I'm training for a life, man.
Life.
Like, say a house is burning next door, is my body physically ready to jump in there and go save the people who are inside it? Am I physically capable of doing it? If I'm not, I'm kind of worthless.
Yeah.
So I have to do those things in order to be able to put myself in those situations. But that is constant challenge. That is constant struggle. And you need to be ready to be punched in the face in order to do so. That's it.
You can take the metaphor that you just used for fighting for life, especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're going out there and putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
You're going to have the highs. You're going to have the lows. You can wake up and be like, my whole day is planned out. I've got a perfect day. My morning ritual was awesome. 12:30 hits, boom. You get a phone call. It is like getting punched in the face. You have no idea what's about to happen to you, right? Are you prepared for that? Yeah. It's hard, right? But again, if you're prepared for it, it's another day in the office.
Yeah.
You know, but I love how you said that you learn more from your losses than your wins. You're always going to learn more from your losses. Yeah. And if you're willing to put yourself out there, I mean, I'm going to be real with you, man. I've lost it all twice, but I've made it back so much more, so much faster, right? I mean, I've gone from a 5-6 figure net worth to an 8-figure net worth, right? So, I mean, but to get to that 8-figure net worth, I had to be willing to lose it all, and I've done it. And to be honest with you, when you lose it all, it's the end of the world. Yeah. You just regroup, but you have the knowledge now to go back out there, and you do it so much faster. You do it so much more efficient, and now you don't have those pitfalls. That's why I tell everybody, like, if you're really going to get into this, one thing I didn't do, I wish I would have done a little bit more, is get more coaching and consulting. Yeah. I have a coach right now in every area of my life. Like, I coach other people, but I have coaches, right? I probably spend over $100,000 a year on coaches. I've got a nutrition coach. I've got a fitness coach. I've got a jiu-jitsu professor. I've got a performance coach, right? I've got a real estate coach. I have all of these coaches in my life because they help me avoid they help me avoid getting punched in the face, right? I mean, in a sick way, I like getting punched in the face a little bit, but I don't like it over and over and over again, right? I don't want the one that's going to knock me out. I mean, I'll take a jab here and there, right? But I don't want the death blow coming in and I've got to start all over again. And that's how you level up the proper way, right? Is to find a mentor, find a coach, and then have them help guide you. Because again, it's not what they know. It's not what they don't know. It's what they know and what to avoid.
And they will help you prepare the best as possible, but you're still going to take those hits. Yeah. And you were talking about how you lost it all twice. How did you feel during that moment at that time? Because I know you were probably prioritizing the business side and the financial aspect during that time. And then you said that you found your whole self-development side later as you start to grow. Yeah. But since you didn't have that personal development side back then, how did you feel during those times when you lost it all?
I mean, I've only lost it all since the self-development stuff, right? Like, it's been a crazy ride the last probably 5 to 7 years. But I didn't have, like, going through, like, just the regular stuff. I didn't really have the ups and the downs too much because I really was kind of playing small. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because I didn't understand yet the self-development piece. I really didn't understand. I had the corporate job. I had the W-2. I had the 401k. I had the white picket fence. I had all the things, right, you're supposed to get. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I've got some comfort here, but I was never kind of like uncomfortable. It wasn't until I was like, okay, like, there's got to be more to this, that I decided, okay, well, again, I've always kind of been an entrepreneur, but not in a huge space, right? Like, the fitness and health stuff that I did, like, we had a fitness app that we sold. I had a small gym that I built and sold, a nutrition company. We didn't really take big L's there because we weren't going after huge W's. I mean, we made some money on it, don't get me wrong, but we weren't like shooting for the stars. So those little hits that I would take then and there weren't so big. It was when I started to do self-development that I understood how long the runway can get. I was like, all right, we're going for it, right? And shot the moon. The times that we weren't going up and we were coming down, I felt like more of like suffocation, so low, like you feel like you're gonna die. Like I remember going to bed at night and just laying in bed being like, if I don't wake up tomorrow, it's cool. I'm cool with it. At least this anxiety and this depression and all of the stuff that I'm going through is gone, right? And I don't want to scare people away from trying for it, but the beautiful part is that feeling passes, right? This too shall pass. And it does go away. You do figure it out, and then there are brighter days ahead. But that's the lesson. What you're feeling in that time is the lesson. That's the growth. And we got to remember, we asked for it. I asked for it, right? So when I was going through those dark times, I really relied on my discipline, man. Like it was like if I had to work out, I had to eat clean, I had to meditate, I had to do all of the things because that was the only way I was gonna zombie through the day to get past the dark time, right?
Yeah.
But you got to do it. If you want the big highs, the wins, and all of the freedoms, you got to be able to go through the darkness.
Yeah. And I wanted to go into like the whole, say, combat sports. What was your intention joining jujitsu? Did you ever say wanted to compete, or did you just wanted to be hard to kill?
So for me, I did like kung fu karate stuff when I was a little kid. I remember seeing pictures of being like a white belt and doing like that. That really wasn't martial arts to me. My background after, playing football was more just kind of like bro gym. And then I found CrossFit. And I fell in love with CrossFit because I loved the camaraderie of it. I loved how you can compete and do all the things. I mean, I did CrossFit for over a decade. We owned some CrossFit gyms. But I kind of got stagnant with it because, again, I learned everything in CrossFit. I competed at a semi-high level, but jiu-jitsu, like, I think I just started hearing more people talk about jiu-jitsu and podcasts and stuff like that. And I didn't really know anything about it. So I just I'm just going to go give this a try. After the first class, I was hooked. I was hooked because not only did I had one of the most amazing workouts that I've ever had, right? Because I mean, you fight every day in jiu-jitsu. You're rolling every day. But what I understood just from my first class was it was a game of chess with your body. And I had no idea what I was doing, right? But I could see that if I continued on with this, I could start to become better. And it's like a never-ending game of chess. It's gonna take. I mean, I just got my blue belt, probably 4 or 5 months ago. But the quest to black belt, I'm definitely gonna do it. But I still feel like I'm a white belt because there's so much to learn.
Yeah.
And I didn't ever think. I mean, I love being competitive, right, in all aspects of my life, just because I love that feeling. But going out there and going to a jiu-jitsu tournament is the closest that I've ever felt to being a warrior. You've got to prepare, you've learned your skills, you've got to go in, you prepare, and you're going to fight. And even though the guy on the other side, you don't want to kill them, right? You're still I'm going to hurt you. We're fighting, right? If you don't tap, I'm going to break this.
Yeah.
But it's just the feeling that you get. I love all of it, I guess you could say. I love the preparation for just training, right? So when you sign up saying, hey, I'm going to do this jiu-jitsu tournament, I'm gonna prep for it, right? I know it's coming up. There's 3 months. I'm gonna eat right. I'm gonna start doing some maybe other form of cardio, whatever. The prep is awesome, right? And then the day of the fight, nothing else exists except for you and what you have in front of you. I don't care if you're in a fight with your wife. I don't care it does not even matter. But then once you're done, there's that feeling of accomplishment that you're just it's such a release. Again, it's like a drug. And then you're all right, let's just get right back to it. Right. So I'm glad that I do it now. It's added a whole new level of just enjoying. So to the people out there that, are thinking about getting into fitness, right? You don't have to just do one thing. Just do something that makes you just get a little bit more spark than the other thing. And you don't have to do it forever. So if you're maybe I want to go try jiu-jitsu, well, go try it. And if you like it, that's working out, right? You're oh, I want to go do Pilates, or I want to go whatever you want to do, just go do it. And then do it for a little while until it's not fun anymore, and then just do something else.
Yeah.
right? Like, you don't have to pick it. You're not a failure if you like quit doing Pilates, right? Like, you start doing Pilates and you're like, I don't like Pilates anymore. Well, just don't do it. Go do something else.
Like, you don't have to be married to it. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like,
You're not a failure.
yeah, like experiment. Like I always used to work, because I've been in the fitness industry for so long. So I was always helping people with their nutrition and their fitness
Yeah.
as well. And I always wanted to like preach, like, I'm not teaching you how to lose weight. I'm teaching you how to keep it off, you know, like, because anybody can lose weight, but it's sustainability. And when it comes to, in my past clients, especially my older clients, they were so confused on why it wasn't happening so fast.
Yep.
And then I always asked them that one question. I was like, okay, when did you start prioritizing your health? 42 years of age. I was like, okay. So within that whole 42 years of age, you never prioritize your health, right? Like, yes, correct. I was like, okay, so you expect to see results in 2 weeks? I was like, accumulate all those years and you think you're going to see a dramatic change in 2 weeks. Great things take time, whether it's in business, whether it's in the markets, whether it's in marriage, children, everything. Great things take time. And it's very, very hard on this world, especially the problem with social media. They promote it as if when you start it, you're going to get the fruits of it right away. And that's just not the case. For you personally, when did you start to see the fruits? Like, how much time did you put into your craft to the where you saw the fruits of it?
I guess to build it up, right? We're talking about immediate gratification, right? In today's society and everything that we're going through, everybody wants something for nothing, and they want it yesterday, right? And we're building a society of just like soft people who don't understand that they've got to put in the work. For me, if it depends on which area of life, but I remember when I was in 6th grade, I was a chubby kid, and
That's very hard to believe, by the way.
right?
You know what I mean? 'Cause
Right? Yeah.
I'm seeing you now, and I'm seeing you're posting, and you said it early in the beginning of the conversation. I was like, in my head, I was like, that's very hard to believe.
Well, I mean, I was a chubby kid until about 6th grade. And, I think the biggest changes in your life, you have to attach some sort of emotional charge to it, right? So for me, being chubby wasn't emotionally, it was hard. It got made fun of and stuff growing up, but it wasn't until I actually started to take a like in females, that I'm like, oh my gosh, like I like these girls, but they don't like me. I mean, I got a great personality because I had to to be their friend, but they don't like me like that. And it's because I'm overweight, but I was embarrassed. So I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? So I remember doing like push-ups and sit-ups in the bathroom, locking myself in the bathroom because I had 2 brothers and a stepsister, and I'm the oldest. I would lock myself in the bathroom and do my push-ups and my sit-ups. Then I would wait until everybody went to bed and I would go for a run, right? And it wasn't until probably I got into football around like 10th, 11th grade that I actually started to see myself as a more attractive person physically. So, I mean, that's from 6th grade to 10th grade. I was trying to figure out how to lose weight and do all the things, right? I didn't know what I was doing. So, it took that many years to get there. And I mean, the emotion that is attached to that, I will never be overweight again. Like, it is ingrained in me to do that, right? Like in business, it's taken a long time and I still feel like I'm not even there. I mean, it's, I would say my early 20s is when I started my first companies, right? And, my 20s to early 20s to late 20s, like I said, I bought and sold, like I have 3 exits on my resume, but all of that money just gets rolled into the next company, right? You're not like, unless you hit it big when you're in your early 20s and you make a lot of money, that's awesome, right? But that wasn't it for me. So kept rolling it in. I had a corporate job. I was making a lot of money with it, but then, I started rolling that into kind of like real estate. Then I had to learn real estate. So it wasn't until like I turned like 40 that I could really even say that I'm financially free with a certain level in your life, right? But you're talking about like 20 years of just the hustle. Yeah. But I feel like I'm not even close to where I want to be, because what we do is we continue to move the goalposts back. Right? So if you do 5-year visions, I love 5-year visions. I started doing them when I was 30. So I'd write a 5-year vision when I was 30, and then I'd recheck it at like 2 to 3 years, and I already blow past those goals. Like, all right, let's move that goal path back a little bit more, right? If you were to go to my 25-year self and tell them where I would be when I was 40, I'd probably laugh at you. I'd probably be like, no way, right? So I'm hoping that now that I'm 40, like my 6-year-old self, I hope that I'm going to go even far, which I probably will, right? Because I'm not going to slow down anytime soon. But it's taken so much time. And like the mental and emotional freedom that's taken like 5 years. Like I remember when I was 35 years old, that's when I started to make a little bit of money, and I was like, okay, I'm not happy. So I need to figure out what makes me happy. And I went down the plant medicine journey, did a lot of shadow work, introspective. And it wasn't till like 5 years that I really started to understand who I was as a person. Because you've got to go through, you got to empty out the closet. You've got skeletons in your closet. There's traumas. You have trauma from your life from when you were younger. You've got DNA generational trauma that you don't even know about that's hidden in there. And I think every entrepreneur, if they want to have the overall spiritual freedom of everything, you're going to have to do that work, right? If you put off that work until the very end, you're still not going to be free from it.
Like I always like to say it, make it as natural as brushing your teeth. Like everybody kind of wakes up and they're like, oh, I'm going to wash my face. I have to go to the restroom or I got to shower, etc. But everybody usually brushes their teeth in the morning. I feel like that's like very essential. So I always say that make it as natural as brushing your teeth in the morning, where it's not even a thought. Like that's what fitness came to me, where it's as natural as brushing my teeth, to the point where I don't really talk about it out loud where I used to, because you'll hear it out loud when other people are just getting into it. Man, I'm doing chest today. Man, I'm doing shoulders today. Me, and I've noticed it with myself, I'm just very quiet about it because it's like, it's as natural as brushing my teeth. Like nobody talks about brushing their teeth out loud, right? Nobody like said, oh man, I brushed my teeth for 3 minutes today. Nobody ever says that, right? So for me in fitness, I love talking about it when people ask about it. Like when, oh, what do I do? This, that. And I love to spill out that game. But I don't say it out loud just because it's been so ingrained into me where it's just natural. This is always the priority. This is always the number one priority, because if it's not, nothing else around me will be great. Yeah. And in order for those to be great, this needs to be great. So that is why that is number one priority. Some people may call that selfish.
You've got to put your oxygen mask on before you can put anybody else's, right? They tell you that when you're on an airplane.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with life. Like until you learn how to take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else.
No.
And then what you're talking about, right? There's a book out, Atomic Habits, right?
Yeah.
It's your subconscious mind. Like you're brushing your teeth, you do it subconsciously. You don't think like, oh, I need to grab the toothbrush. Oh, I need to put this much toothpaste on it. Oh, I need to set the timer for 3 minutes because I need to feel what 3 minutes feels like. No, it's the same thing that you do every day. So back to your daily habits, right? Like what do you do daily? You tell me what you do daily. I'm going to tell you how successful you're going to be.
Yeah. And honestly, brother, if you hung out with me for a day, you'd be like, dude, you're boring. You know what I mean?
Boring
it's doing
to some,
it's boring. Yeah, agreed. It's boring, but it's very sexy for people like us.
Yeah.
Because the things that we do, it helps us so much. It grows our personal stock. You know what I mean? When it comes to reading, training, what we're doing outside, the walks, the interactions that we're having, those are very sexy to us. But to everybody else, because I had one individual shout on me one day, and she said, "This is so boring. I can't do this." And I said, like you said, it's boring for some, but for others, it's the best. But yeah. If some other people were going to hang out with me, they'd be, you're boring. But it's like doing the boring stuff every single day has worked. And I'm just going to keep doing it.
Oh, I 100% agree. Like, but that's okay because they're weeding themselves out of my life. Mm-hmm. Like I don't have, again, the commodity that is most precious to me is time.
Yeah.
And I've been, I like to listen to some sort of, something before I go to sleep, just to kind of like, and I've been listening to a lot of Alan Watts, and he talks about death a lot. So I've been contemplating death a lot, which is crazy. But I think everybody needs to understand their mortality. I mean, we're all going to die one day, right? So I'm scared. Yeah. I'm scared of not only dying, I think everybody's scared of dying. I mean, we're not going to be in a box like for eternity, in a black box, right? But I'm more scared of not trying. Right, I'm more scared of being on my deathbed and being like, man, I wish I would have shot the shot. I wish I would have done the thing. I wish I would have, I want to be on my deathbed being like, I gave her hell, right? And it was a fun journey, and the people, again, time is what we have. So if you think what I'm doing is boring, then I don't want you to even be in my time, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because I remember telling family members about this because we were actually talking about like the topic of death came out, and my mother doesn't like speaking about that topic at all, which just makes sense. But I told her as a reminder, I was like, hey, Ma, if I were to go tomorrow, just know that I died a very, very happy man because I did what I was supposed to do during that time frame. But I'm with you too. I don't want to go. I like it here. this is nice. You know, like seeing my family, seeing my niece, seeing all the people that I am meeting, being able to see my potential, what I'm able to do. I like this feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't have a wife yet. I don't have children yet, but it would suck to go and not seeing them grow.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I'm scared of. Or say if my kids need me and I'm not there, that's what I would be scared of.
Well, let's think about this. What if you went through life still here,
Yeah.
but not being involved in any of that?
Yeah.
So many entrepreneurs and so many people, that's when they don't take care of their families. They're not present in their lives. They're out there just chasing the next thing, right? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, like that's the drug for them, is the next best thing, is the thing. And we talk about this a little bit about entrepreneurs drive so hard because they don't want to sit still and feel, right? They don't want to they don't want to do the shadow work. They don't want to go through all of the things that's going to make their family better or whatever. They're like, nope, I've got to go to work. I've got to go create my business. I've got to go do all of the things, because sometimes feeling sucks, right? Some of the feels out there are not the funnest feels, right? And you don't want to do the inner work to become the better person, right? So just hide yourself in business.
Yeah.
And I can normally point those people out when I walk into a room of business professionals, right? Because they all kind of the same, right? They're pale, they're overweight, like they look kind of sloppy, and they're kind of overgrown. Like you can look at somebody, I mean, I can look at somebody and be like, okay, I can tell just by looking at you, like if I would do business with you or not.
Say we're at a restaurant and there's a very attractive waitress, and say if I know the person is married or in a relationship, and I see them say talking about this woman who's a waitress and she's very beautiful, the way, because I've had this interaction happen to me before where the individual was talking about like, hey, I'm gonna get her number. And I was like, don't you have wife at home? Don't you got kids? And I said that to him and he was just kind of like, yeah, but like we're headbutting this and that. She's you know, just bothering me. And I was like, oh, we're never going to have dinner again. You know, I was like, oh, you're never going to see me again. I was like, you'll probably see me like in, say, social media, so on and so forth. But I was like, we're never going to do this again. Those are very important, man, because I set very high standards for myself, and I want high standards when it comes to my circle as well. And just like how you were saying, walking to a room and you know that if you can do a business with somebody or not, that's important too when it comes to how people live their life, if they're disciplined, not just within themselves in training, within their family life as well. That's very important to me, man, because I am very, say, that is one of my principles when it comes to family. How are you at your home? You know, like, are you making your bed? You know, because like if your life is pretty much in a whole ruckus, it's like, well, you sleep in the bed you made. Are you making sure your wife is well fed? Are you making sure your kids are good? Like that is a very big priority. And if you are ignoring that just to make sure you raise your income, sorry, I can't really work with that. Even if you are doing good in business, I can't work with that because there's no long term.
Do you make your bed every time right when you get up?
Every day, bro. It's a mandatory. You know what I mean? It's
you got to win the day right when you wake up, man. I just make your bed. People are like, oh, well, I'm just gonna get back in and go to sleep. I'm like, that's not the point. The point is like I don't want to make my bed, but I make it. I think about it every day when I get out of the bed. Right when my feet hit the floor and I stand up, I go, do I want to make this right now? I'm like, I'm not gonna not make it. Right?
Like I know what I'm gonna wear next week. You know what I mean? Like this is Monday, this is Tuesday, this is Wednesday, this is Thursday. Everything is just pretty much organized and there's plans in state. Like I love when the night comes because I love planning the next day.
So I used to be like that. I used to really have like a list guy and have like write everything down, all my to-do lists and all of that. And that's really good. Yeah. But I think the next evolution of that is being in flow, right? Like I don't write everything down anymore because I've done this for so long that when I wake up tomorrow, I know what I got to do. It's already there. I don't need a list that's telling me. I don't need to have everything so planned out because I can go now. I've set myself up to where I can be in a flow state. And I think that's where we really want to get is the flow state, man, is when you're doing something like we're in flow state right now. Yeah. I don't know how long we've been sitting here. Right. And I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know because time to me doesn't exist. And that's a whole different thing. But I don't want to know how long we've been sitting here. But like I'm having a great time sitting here. Right. Time right now does not exist. We're in a flow state. Right. So if you can try to be in a flow state the majority of your day, like that is amazing. I mean, you're always going to have, I used to be a calendar guy, right? Like I would have everything from when I woke up to when I did my night, like my whole calendar every day would have 10 to 15 things on it, all color coordinated and everything. I just snapped one day and was like, I do not want this calendar just running my life anymore. So it's like, if you're on my calendar, like you've got a place of my time. That's the most valuable thing that you can have.
Oh my God. Do you take it as the biggest slap in the face when people waste your time?
It depends, right? So the first one is, yeah, if you set up an appointment with me
Yeah.
and you don't show up, you might as well just die because
Yeah.
you're dead to me. Like
Yeah.
I'm never going to schedule an appointment with you and get on your calendar,
Yes.
or I at least don't, if something happens, call you and be like, hey man, like on the way over here, I was a couple minutes late because there was an accident and I couldn't get off on the right exit. So I was like, hey man, I'm going to be a couple minutes late.
Yeah.
I value other people's time above anything else. So you have to understand the law of energetic exchange, right? So you have to understand all of the laws of the universe. If people out there that are listening, if you don't understand the laws of the universe, go Google it. There's like between 7 and 12 of them, depending on who you read. It's all real. Yeah. The law of energetic exchange. So what I tell people is this, like, if you're paying for my time, you are giving me energetics and I'm turning around giving you my time. Yeah. If I'm giving you valued information, if I'm coaching you and you're paying me and you don't implement it, well, you're paying me. Yeah. So you can continue to pay me and I'm going to be here to coach you through implementation and accountability. And yeah, I'm going to be like, come on, dude, quit being a knucklehead. And like, let's really get after this. I mean, unless you just want to continue to pay me and you want to stay in the same place, like eventually I'm going to start charging you more because you're wasting the time. And eventually, hopefully at some point, it's going to be so much money that you're going to get it done. Right. Because I do want to see you as a better person, but I don't do things for free. So if you hit me up on social media and you're like, hey man, can you tell me more about real estate? Right. I'm completely down to have a call with somebody or help them out and stuff like that. But they have to provide some sort of value to me. Right. So if they come on, so this is something great for the listeners. If you want to reach out to somebody that has something that you want, you have to give them one of three things. You've either got to give them money, you either got to give them your time of something else, or you have to give them some value. So if you reach out to me and you're like, hey, David, I would love to learn a little bit more about real estate. I don't have any real estate right now. What can I do to provide you value? Can I help you find a deal? I'm like, okay, well, this person's like wanting to provide value to me in exchange for my knowledge. Okay, cool. I'll jump on a phone call with you. Yeah. But if you reach out to me and you're just like, hey, can you give me some knowledge about this? I'm like, yeah, I've got a coaching program. You can hop on it. Oh, I don't want to jump on the program. I just want to know about this. Okay, well, you can Google it or you can go to YouTube. Yeah. Here's the thing. Everything, all of the education is out there. It's all on YouTube. It's all the Google searchable. Yeah. What you don't have is you don't have implementation and you don't have accountability. So when someone's reaching out to you to say, hey man, tell me more about running a podcast, you're like, okay, well, you could easily just go Google it. Yeah. But what you're really asking me for is like, hey, you need to hold me accountable to implementing the stuff that I'm learning to start a podcast. Okay, cool. Well, it's going to cost this much money. And by doing this, we're going to satisfy the laws of energetic exchange. I'm going to give you my full self. You're going to turn around and give me your full self. And you are going to execute and you're going to be successful. The compensation isn't necessarily for you, even though you're getting it. It's for them. Yeah. Like they need to hold themselves accountable to do it, right? Like I don't need the money that you're going to pay me for me to coach you on nutrition and fitness, right? But I know if you pay me, you're going to show up. Yeah. And I get more gratification with you winning. Yeah. So if I give you this for free and you don't do it, not only have you wasted my time, but I also don't get the hit of the drug of you winning. You know what I mean?
Dang, that's a bar.
Seriously. Right? Like, so I want you to win because that's what I get out of it. Right. Yeah. So I'm like, how much do I need to charge you where you're going to feel it and then you're going to show up? Yeah. And so I tell people, like, there are a lot of people that reach out to me that want to to coach with me in some area. Right. And they tell me that they can't afford it. Well, I tell them this, look, every self-development course and everything that I have done, I've always put it on a credit card because I knew that I was going to do whatever it took to be successful and I would pay that back. Yeah. And you need to make it stretch. You need to make it hurt. So if this is something you're serious about, find a way to pay for it and go in on it.
It's the same thing when it comes to, say, these networking events. You have to be of use. Mm-hmm. You can't just go in there thinking like, oh, I just want to learn, but it's also, if you really want to get the extra information, you have to be of some use to somebody. Yep. And that just works because it's a domino effect. It's like, you're giving me value, I'm giving you value. Man, what could we do together? Because when you put two killers together, man, they're unbeatable. It's like, oh yeah, we can walk to war together. We'll run and charge together and I can trust you by my side.
So your network is your net worth. I was a business development officer for those 10 years when I was in corporate. So networking events is what I did. So the people out there listening about networking events, it can be daunting. Just go in, try to meet 5 people. You're going to go and there's going to be thousands of people there. Go try to meet 5 people and create a genuine connection with 5 people. And then also like, okay, well, David, what value do I have to provide to people? Well, you may have some education, you may have some stuff, but the easiest thing to provide is more networking connections, right? Like if I met you at a networking event and I'm like, hey, I don't know anything about podcasting and we're at a podcasting networking event, but I want to learn more about it. I'm like, you know what, Daniel, I know this other guy who's a killer podcaster. I would love to connect you guys so you guys can riff off back and forth about podcasting. What I did is just provided you value by connecting you with somebody in my network.
Yes.
That's the easiest way to provide value to somebody is connecting them. I built my whole career on it. Yeah. Like as a business development officer in the commercial, so I was for, it was a insurance company, title insurance. Yeah. So my main job was going out and talking to brokers, talking to lenders, talking to investors to give me their business. So what I had to do was go connect people, right? I'm like, hey, you're a lender. What do you need? Oh, you need more clients. Okay, well, I go to these investors. Hey, what do you guys need? Well, we need deal flow. We need lenders. Hey, lenders, meet these guys. And I would just start connecting the dots with everybody. And then that's how I built my book of business. That's how I just built my network. So the easiest way to provide value to anybody is connect them with somebody. So get yourself out there.
You said a great way how to network. What are ways to not network? What are the wrong, like the ways that people do it wrong?
That's an interesting question. The wrong way to network, and I can't believe I'm going to say this because this is how I networked for the longest time until I figured it out. The wrong way to network is like you'll get caught up in these networking events and you'll go out and you'll just get like drunk and like party. There's huge parties, right? And there are relationships that are built in those times when you're out there having drinks and stuff like that. Just try to create more of a genuine connection before those times during those networking events. Because I've been to thousands of networking events, and if I can remember some of them, the parties got pretty crazy. I just didn't really create genuine connections with the people, right? So it's not a shotgun approach, it's a sniper approach, right? And if you can, if you're really good and you want to take it to the next level, is research people before, because they send out lists and stuff before these events.
Oh, that's smart.
Research the people and already have your targets on who you're going to go talk to. Do your research, know about them, go prepared. I guess it's like we're talking about, right? Prepare for life, all of the things we're talking about. If you're going to a networking event, go in prepared.
Yes.
Go in knowing who the people you want to talk to, know about what they do, know about their business. Already have a connection for them. And they're going to be like, who is this guy?
I had this interaction too, because I spoke at a networking event about media and podcasting and the importance of it and how every business owner should have a podcast attached to them. And I remember at the end of it, there was an individual in the crowd saying that he could do all my clips for me. He gave me his business card. It was a great conversation, great interaction, but social proof. So he said that he can create these creative reels for me and these videos, so on and so forth. I saw no social proof on his end, whether it's a social media, whether it's LinkedIn. It was just more of like, this is what I could do for you. I was like, okay, but I don't see anything. Mm-hmm. So that matters as well, social proof, because it's like, you see my portfolio when it comes to my media, I have social proof. I've been doing it. But if I don't see it from you, how are we supposed to interact and interlace? So does social proof kind of need to be a part of it as well?
It's interesting you said that, man, because your resume does matter, especially in today's day and age. Everybody out there is trying to be a coach, and like their business is just coaching. Like you have to know, like, if somebody hits me up, and you get them on social media all the time now, it's like, hey, I want to coach you in marketing, or I want to do your reels for you, or do whatever. You go to their page and you're like, oh, you want to find me followers, but you don't have any followers.
Isn't that
right?
so weird?
You want to cut my videos, but your videos suck, or you don't even have videos, right? Again, you want to coach me in real estate, but you don't have a portfolio. Like you don't even have like you want to be my diet nutrition coach. You're not even in shape yourself.
Jeez.
Right? Like it's crazy. Like, so people are like, oh, like, you know, why would I want to coach you in real estate? I'm like, well, I've done this, and this, right? I'm doing this because I want to help you. Like, I already have my resume, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, you have to have proof of concept of you can be the one doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to discourage anybody from like doing any of that. You can do it, but just don't try to oversell yourself if you don't have the resume.
Isn't that strange how people even put themselves in that position and they don't think that we're going to do the extra and do a little bit more deep dive and kind of find out for ourselves? It's like, well, I have a very high standard, and if I don't see it, I'm not going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Isn't that very strange?
I mean, they're trying. I give them like an A for effort, right? Like, hey, you're out there at sales, you're trying, you got to get your first client and stuff like that. But it's, like, I'm not going to hire anybody to do anything if, you got to be somewhere I want to be or want to go. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to just bring you on because, and then you also have to, it's got to be a culture fit too, not just a resume. Like, you've got to fit everything that I do culturally, or you've got to be part of my group, right? Like you're saying, to tie it back into like when you're out to dinner with that person that was kind of like, getting flirtatious with the waitress and stuff, right? Well, that's not my culture.
Yeah.
Right. So even if you are the best real estate person in the world, younger me wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
Because I wanted the knowledge. I would have sacrificed whatever I had to sacrifice, even though it was against my moral values. Older, more successful me is like, no.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
And that doesn't mean that we're just going to get rid of these people. Because now when I look at people like that, I look at them in a different light of like, you're hurting. There's something about you that's hurting, right? Like obviously your relationship with your wife or whatever, it's hurting, but like you're in pain, So it's almost like, can I help you? Right. But they may not be ready to hear that. You know what I mean?
And it could turn into like a big headbutt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's okay. You can weed yourself out of my life. But at least for me, I asked you, I'm like, are you okay? Can I help you?
Is there any ways that I can pass down some of my principles and then maybe we could learn together? I learn by teaching and then you can learn by executing as well.
Yeah, and we don't call them out on it. We're not like, you're a POS because you do X, Y, and Z. We try to just go to them in a sense of just like, hey, man, like, you pull me to the side and you're like, are you cool? Are you good, man? Like, I like you as a person, man, but obviously, like, you don't really want this. Yes. Just like the person that's overweight, right? Like, if you call them out in front of people, they're going to be like, oh, I love my dad body. I love my love handles, right? But if you pull them to the side, you're like, man, are you okay? You're hurting, right? Like, can I really help you?
Yeah.
We have a different conversation.
110%. And then also in your experience, obviously in real estate, what's probably some of the biggest things that you would want to pass down to somebody who's interested in being a real estate investor?
Ooh, great question. I would tell people who are aspiring real estate investors to just start, right? Because a lot of the times people feel like you need to have a lot of money to get started. You don't. I actually built my whole portfolio really using partners and other people's capital and stuff as I figured it out. So if you want to be a real estate investor, like if I were to go back and do it all over again, I would bring on a coach that I had built trust with to really kind of like, unless I had, I don't know, $100,000 to $250,000 of cash to invest in my first deal, what I would do is go out there and find a coach to help me learn how to invest in real estate, because there's so many different ways to invest in real estate. You've got residential, you've got commercial, there's 5 different asset classes in commercial. There's so many different ways to make money, but your coach can help you figure out the blueprint on how you're going to make money. And then they also can help you, okay, this is how you're going to go do it. So, I mean, if we were kind of, I guess maybe walk you through my career, you can kind of understand how I did it. Was, I started off with just buying a condo, right? And then renting out that condo and then buying a single family house, right? Doing the small things, renting out that house. And then I bought my first 7 unit. And then we sold the 7 unit, 1031 into 32 units. And then 32 units turned into 45, 45 to 75, 75 all the way up to 158. And then the next thing you know, I poured gasoline on it. Went from the first 32 unit to the 1,000th unit was 18 months. We are over 5 different states, but I used other people's capital to work with me to help me invest in these deals because I learned the blueprint. I learned how to do it. So once you learn how to do it, other people have money that will want to invest with you. You can do joint venture partnerships, or you could even do syndications where there's certain licenses and stuff that you have to get. But if you learn the knowledge, other people have money to invest. Because me personally, investing in real estate is the ultimate wealth builder. You can get rich with stocks. You can get rich with building your own company. You can get rich with everything that you're doing. But if you want to build generational wealth, it's real estate.
What are some of the biggest headaches for you personally when it comes to being in real estate investing?
Uh, that's a good question as well. So the thing you have to understand too, there's two different things. There's working in real estate and working on real estate, right? So if you're working in real estate, you're either a real estate agent, you're a real estate broker, you're brokering deals. If you flip houses, you're working anything that's a job, Airbnbs, to where when you stop doing what you're doing, the money stops, right?
Yes.
Working on real estate is actually owning it and continuously owning it while rent's coming in, right? Like we call it hold until you get old. That's when you make money when you sleep. You're actually setting up your operations and your businesses. So in the growth phase, the hardest thing is that you have to be really good at who, not how. You have to get property managers, especially if you're going to be managing multiple properties and stuff. It's really putting together the teams that's going to really help you manage all of your real estate, right? That's the biggest headache that I had is like, because I mean, you don't know until you know. You can go out there and have opening up a new state and you're like, hey, we're going to buy this, 50 unit apartment building. And we've interviewed 5 property managers and this one property manager is the best, but then they end up not doing it. You've got to go back and interview them, and it may take 3 or 4 iterations to find the right people. It's just it's hard to put the teams together.
Yeah. And how do you find that team though?
Trial and error and just knowing what to do, right? Like for me, it's taken me, I don't know, like 7 or 8 years to really perfect like the questions that I ask a property manager from experience.
Yeah.
Because when you're new, you don't know what questions to ask to see if they're a good property manager or not. That's why like having a coach is so good in the real estate space, is because they teach you how and tell you what to ask, right? Instead of you learning it on your own. And it can be a really costly mistake having the wrong property manager.
Jeez, have you ever had to face that experience?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've went in one state where I've had like 6 or 7 different iterations of property managers just because they just didn't work out.
Yeah.
So, but it's like anything that we're talking about, right? Like I wake up, I prepare for the day. I mean, I may have some calls on my phone right now that I don't know about. And in real estate, it's crazy. Anything can happen. And like we've had people murdered at properties and drug out to the dumpster. We've had people on multiple occasions. This was a weird one. On multiple occasions, we've had people drive through their living room on different properties in different states. So I do like value add commercial real estate investing, right? So a lot of times we're in like B class, C class, tertiary and secondary markets. We go in, we fix them up.
Yeah.
But just people, I mean, I don't know if they get drunk and drive through their living room or they just forget to put it in park, but that was a weird one. But you just get calls. A good property manager is a buffer between you and your real estate. They take care of it, but you still get the calls, right? So if you're not prepared for those, like it can be pretty stressful. So you always have to stay up to date on what the market's doing, the macroeconomic of factors that go on, like interest rates and what everything's going on. So, I mean, you can get to a point, I guess when you're growing a real estate portfolio, you can get to a point to where the passive income's coming in that sustains your lifestyle. You're like, okay, this is good. And if you have your niche asset class, I mean, we do multifamily and retail strip centers and mobile home parks. So, I mean, I've spent a bunch of time learning the ins and outs of all of that, right? So I really don't learn more about those asset classes. I learn about the factors that are affecting those asset classes, because you have your loans and your refinances and all of that. So you always want to continue to keep up to date on what's going on. You can learn a new asset class if you want, or you can go another way. Like what I do now is kind of partner with other operators in other asset classes. Like I'm looking at potentially getting into office space and industrial, but I'm not going to go out there and spend all the time learning those specifically. I'm going to go network and find the best operators that I can find, and I'm probably going to throw in with them, right? So that's what I was saying. Like something you said earlier was like, yeah. So if your craft is like podcast, creating content, education, and you're spending all of your time and efforts in growing this, you're going to be successful and you're going to make money. So you can do one of two things with that money, right? You can find other operators who know what they're doing, educate yourself enough to know what you're getting into, but partner with other people and continue to stay in your niche, right? Unless you're just like, I want to go full blown operator.
Joe Rogan's not editing.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan's not producing. He sits down in a chair. Young Jamie's over there in the corner. He's doing everything.
Yeah.
And then Joe Rogan just has his guest. Then they go out, eat, do whatever the heck they're going to do.
Do you think Joe Rogan at the very beginning did it all himself?
I remember the first time he was doing it off his phone, meaning he would do UFC events. And then on the plane, he would talk about the fights.
Yeah.
And it was just all on his phone, like in selfie and video form. And then he was just talking to Dana, getting his insight, talking about the other staff that was involved, like talking about the event. That's how it started. I don't know if he uploaded it himself, so on and so forth, because he had a great network. So I don't know how his relationship was when it comes to having his one-person producer.
Think about it like this, right? I always go back to this too, is like, okay, so when you first start out doing anything, right? Yeah. So you have like time and money, right? And the first time you may have a lot of time, but you don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. And as you start to do this, you start making more money.
Yeah.
You have less time. Right. And then eventually you're going to have all of this money and no time. So what you do is you spend this money to get your time back. Yeah. And then eventually you want all the money and all the time.
Yes.
So I know we were kind of talking about this, I think before we started the cameras, was that like for me, I'm the same way. As like I'm starting to do more social media. I'm starting to do more content. You know, I order the cameras. Like I'm going to cut my own stuff. Yeah. I want to learn it. I want to get my beak wet and a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But then what I now have is the knowledge to go find the who's.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be able to interview somebody and be like, okay, from my knowledge, this person's going to be good at what I need them to do. Because if you don't really know and you just go out there and you just try to hire people, you're going to be spending a lot of time trying to find the right people. And I think that going back to your real estate question, that was a big headache for me. Was I think in the beginning, I was really good at acquisitions and underwriting. So I had numbers, spreadsheets, and all of that. And I was trying to go out there and build a team before I understood all of the aspects of the game. Yeah. So now that I know all the aspects of the game, I'm hiring the right people and understanding what my lane even looks like, right? Because I think at the beginning in my real estate career as well, is like, oh, I'm going to do 10,000 doors and I'm going to build this giant team and I'm going to have this family office. And then when I got to 1,000 doors, I was like, holy cow, this is a lot of work. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to build a big team and have everything in house. Well, why can't I just do my piece and then partner with other operators and we can get to 10,000 doors, but we can do it together.
Yeah.
And I just want to stay in my lane, which is this lane that I figured out how to carve out instead of trying to do everything.
It's smart. So you're delegating the right way.
Delegating the right way and finding the right people to delegate to. Because if I don't know what your job responsibilities are and I don't know what it entails, you can tell me you're the best whatever. Yeah. And you can give me a resume and I'll be like, oh, these responsibilities sound pretty awesome. But we're not both maybe clear on what the end result is going to be.
Agreed.
If I've done it all, I know exactly what the result's going to be. And I know exactly how much time it's going to take too.
A couple of weeks back or a couple months back where you messaged me and you were saying, man, the quality is like unreal. And I was like, that's kind of what I want to bring to the table too, is quality, because people make content in a variety of different ways, whether it's on their phone, whether it's on a camera. And there's also cinematic cameras. But that takes investing, where it's like I have to reinvest into my equipment as well if I want to have a certain look. But it is a lot. Just like how you said, you want to get to the nuts and bolts of like editing. It's easy. It's just time. Mm-hmm. That's all it is.
But I think there is a energetic to it, right?
Yeah.
The amount of time you put into something is the result you're going to get out of it.
Flow.
Right?
That's what I feel now when I get into my room and I'm editing. It's flow now. Yeah. Before, it used to be a drag because I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. Now it's at flow. Now I'm like, okay, that looks good. All right, that looks perfect. Perfect, we're good.
But you put the time in, right? Like you can tell when somebody, I mean, I can tell when somebody has a camera, a nice camera, they're taking a quick video or whatever. Yeah. They may not put a bunch of time into it, but you can almost feel how much time somebody puts into it. Like a post, if they're writing a post, like you can feel the energy of how long it took them to write that post and everything that went with it. And you're like, wow, like that hits.
Yes.
And it may not be sometimes the best whatever, but it's like the energy you put into it, right? So in the beginning, like we're talking about, you know, conscious, subconscious mind, anything, you're going to be putting a lot of energy out because you've got to figure it out. You've got to understand it. But once you understand it, you get into flow and you can go be working out anything. Yeah. It gets easier.
110%.
You just have to start. A lot of people just don't start.
I have another question for you. Say this podcast is hosted by me, right? This is called High Value Discussions. And if this was High Value Discussions hosted by you, David, if there's one question that you would ask me, what would it be?
I got two questions. Let's go with one. Like the first one is like, Well, Daniel, who are you when nobody's looking? When
Jeez.
nobody's watching?
The person who I am when nobody's looking is just the boring stuff that probably people think of me. Where
Yeah.
all he does is train. All he does is look at charts. All he does is read. All he does is spend time with his family. All he does is in his room working. All he does is podcast. That's honestly who I am. And it's everything that I love being a part of. Who I am, it's all the things that I'm currently doing. It's just that. There's no masks. There's no putting on a fake character and like, hey, David, welcome to the place. It's nothing like that, man. It's just who I am now. If you listen to this podcast personally, you pretty much know me. Like, that's the kind of thing that I want to pass on to you too, is like, man, I want to be authentic. I don't want to be some fake dude, because it leaves kind of a bad mark on you. We're like, dude, I'm never going to associate myself with this kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want it to be where you leave out of here and you're like, dude, I can trust that guy.
You may think people, or some people may think like boring and stuff like that, but like what I hear like you are the guy when people are watching, but you're also the guy when people aren't. Like you hold your discipline, you make your bet, you do all your things. And in the dark, when no one's watching, you're still the same person you are when the lights are on. The other question I wanted to ask you was, what advice would you give to yourself 10 years ago?
Jeez, listen more. Yeah, listen more. Because I remember my parents used to tell me when I was a kid that you need to go and dive yourself into those books and get off those video games. And I said, yeah, right. I was like, you think I'm really going to do that? I was like, I'd rather put my face towards the screen when it comes to video games and playing with my friends. But now I kind of understand when it comes to the educational side, because just like me investing in a book so late in my life, man, it was, I hate to say regret or anything like that, but that's the one thing I wish I did differently, was just listen more. And you know, when they say like that term, respect your elders, there's a reason why that term exists. It's because you kind of have to. Like they're at a different frequency than you, even though if they're not, say, in the business field that you want to be in or so on and so forth, you still got to pay attention, you know, like, and just be a student. Because I also wasn't a student at school. Like I barely graduated high school, man. Like barely graduated high school. So I just wasn't a student. I thought I was just going to be a low life, doing nothing with his life, lately. So honestly, I just wish I was a better student when I was younger, and to listen more and absorb more and execute more, rather than just saying that I'm going to do this and not doing it, you know? So that's what I'm about now, where they say execute in silence, which I kind of do, but I like saying it out loud because a lot of it comes true. So, and I like saying things out loud to my family. I like saying things out loud to you, because I know when those that quarter passes, you're like, oh, Daniel said what he was going to do. Yeah. And that's important. Yeah. So the biggest advice I would tell myself is listen more and execute more. Yeah. But also, that's the one thing that I had a problem too, was when I was educating myself about things, I thought I had to know everything in order to execute. That was a big problem of mine, rather than just accumulating some information and then executing more. Yep. So that's something that I do now, where I do continue to learn so much when it comes to what I'm doing, but I execute more. And that's the importance of it. Like the education is always going to be there. Me diving into books, me diving into research, me having these high level conversations. I'm always going to keep doing that, because if I stop being a student, I'm going to die. And I don't want to die. Just like we were saying, we're afraid of death. I don't want to die. Yeah, man. Forever a student, sometimes a teacher. And then you just want to, the one thing you said is, if I can just say like one of my superpowers is speed to execution. Yeah. When I make my mind up about something, I hit the ground running 150 miles an hour and I execute like that. Yeah. It's like pouring gasoline on fire. I mean, yes, you do need to have the knowledge and, you know, pitfalls and stuff like that. But it's like, I don't, you know, I may sleep on something one night, but like I just execute. Yeah. Right. You do want to have enough knowledge to kind of get started, but you can do that simultaneously. Yeah. You don't want to have imposter syndrome where you have to get all of the knowledge and, just not do anything because you're scared that you don't have all of the knowledge. Right. Like, no. And that was what I was worried too. Like when being in these rooms, it's like, dang, like, am I like set in stone? I'm like, if they ask me a question, am I be able to know my topic fully? But it's like, no, like I know enough, but I'm still learning. Yeah. If somebody asks me a question, I'm like, dude, I actually don't know about that. Give me a couple weeks and I could maybe give you that answer. That's the best thing you can do. Don't try to fake it. Don't try to say, like, people that you ask a question to, you'll know 100% if they know what they're talking about or not. Be like, hey, I don't know that, but you know what? I'm going to figure it out and I can get back to you with the answer. Don't try to fake like you know stuff. Stay away from analysis paralysis. You know, you definitely want to just
take one step in front of the other.
Yeah.
But you can take a step today. Like right now, if you're listening to this right now, you can choose one area of your life that you're not free in, and you can take a step right now.
My very, very last question, out of all your experience as a family man, businessman, entrepreneur, or real estate investor, what's the greatest lesson you've ever learned?
Oh, wow. The greatest lesson that I've ever learned. I think the greatest lesson that I've ever learned is about being present. Because time doesn't exist. There was no then, there's no then, or yesterday, there's no tomorrow. It's all about right now. So it's about being present. So if you can learn to love yourself, love everything about everything that you have going on, but be in the present moment like there is no other moments, that's been the hardest lesson, but the best lesson that I've learned.
Yeah. Brother, are there any closing statements you'd like to give for the podcast?
Yeah, man, just don't be afraid to fail, man. Don't be afraid to start. Like, look at, there's tons of stories out there, but you can take a story like mine. Like, I wasn't meant for greatness or anything when I was born or anything. Like, you can become and do anything and everything that you want in this life. You can face some of the greatest adversities in this life and still find a place where you are happy and you're free and full of love.
Agreed. Brother, it was an honor meeting you, man. It was everything I expected, but more, honestly. And I know when you said over the phone, it felt like just having a conversation with a good old friend, brother. It was exactly that. My man, thank you for coming on. And I look forward to having you on multiple times as well, brother. Seriously.
Yeah, sounds good,
thank you
man.
for coming on,
Appreciate
brother.
you.
Thank you all for tuning in to today's episode. If you got a lot of value out of this, please do me a favor and support our channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Make sure to hit that follow button on Spotify to stay updated with our latest episodes. And if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, I would greatly appreciate it if you would leave a 5-star rating, followed by with a review. Again, thank you all for the support. Stay loving, stay hungry, and stay excellent.